All righty. Richard, do we have you with us?
I am here. Thank you for having me.
Wonderful. Excellent.
Sorry about that. Little technical
you.
difficulties here.
Not a problem. I mean, that's the world we're living in, but so happy to see you. So happy to meet you. I haven't had the pleasure of meeting you. I haven't really had the pleasure of meeting many people in my role at the Chamber since I came on March 30th last year. So right when the pandemic began. So it's a pleasure to see you. And it's a pleasure to see everyone who's on the call today. I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen. And while I am doing that, Richard, do you mind introducing yourself to those who are on the call?
Absolutely. First of all, Kristine, thank you for having me. Really, really appreciate the opportunity to meet all the folks here at the Reno Chamber. My name is Rick Benbow. I am Regional Vice President for Western Governors University. Oversee the West region, which comprises of the states of Nevada, Arizona, and California. And just really pleased and honored and humbled to be here today to talk about upskilling and reskilling, particularly at this moment, where a lot of businesses are faced with trying to figure out, their next business move to remain competitive, coming out of the, post-pandemic era. And so very timely topic, happy to present and offer some thoughts, but interested really in the feedback and gathering some information just in terms of what other businesses have been experiencing and see if WGU can be of assistance in some form or fashion.
Excellent. Thank you so much. And we will get to your presentation. I understand that you might want to share your screen. So go ahead and feel free to do that at any time. And Sharon, I know that you wanted to give us a quick elevator pitch and introduce yourself, and I would love for you to do that.
I will unmute. I won't take a lot of time. I was really just trying to help so that Rick can get over his technical glitches, but it's probably worthwhile anyway. My name is Sharon Allen. I am the Senior Strategic Partnership Manager for Nevada for WGU. So I'm basically Miss Nevada here. I'm really pleased to be working with you folks. We cover the entire state. And in case, I don't know if you're familiar with our model, but the reason why I'm so happy to be working with WGU in particular and collaborate with the Chamber is because we were really created by the Western Governors Association 24, I think it is now, years ago, as a workforce development tool. So everything we do is very, very practical. It's very much aligned. And it's, you hear the terms today about increasing access and diversity and all these different terms. We were created that way because we were created as an online higher education institution to help people who normally could not go back to school, working adults and other folks who just weren't into it again, to go back to school and gain the skills and the degrees that they needed to succeed with employers. Plus, we work very, very closely with the employers in the state, and we have a number of partnerships there. So we can work with you on a number of different levels, and that Rick, I'm sure, will be happy to get into. But I just want to explain that we really are a different, they call it a different you. We really are. And I'm happy to go into a lot of detail with you or send you information or whatever it is. I'll put my name in the chat and would appreciate also if you would like to get on my mailing list or find out what we're doing in terms of scholarships or new activities or programs, please put your name on the chat for me as well, and then we can go from there. But thank you again for the opportunity. I'm happy to be with you today.
All right. Thank you. Thank you so much, Sharon. We really appreciate your partnership and how communicative you are with us and how collaborative you are. So thank you once again for being here and for being a resource to our members as well. With that, Rick, please, the floor is yours. Go ahead and take it away. And we, of course, will have Q&A at the end of the call. And you can either enter your questions into chat if you would prefer, or you can always turn on your video and turn on your audio and interact with us. That's definitely something we want to open up and make available so that we can see each other's faces and truly connect. So thank you so much.
Fantastic. Can you see my screen by chance?
Not yet.
All right.
Oh, there we go.
Is that it? Now I got to see if I can run the show here. Please forgive me.
Oh, you're fine. Beautiful. Looks great.
Perfect. Perfect. So again, my name is Rick Binbaum. I'm with Western Governors University. For those that don't know, we are a nonprofit online competency-based university. As Sharon mentioned, we were started a little over 23, 25 years ago as a way to provide flexible online competency-based education to underserved students. What we have seen over this last year is really the pandemic and the economic downfall impact employment, and businesses in general. And what we're finding out is that really change is the only constant. When you look at the continuum of technology and innovation over the last 20 years, what has happened is because of digitization and the information communication technologies, we have other businesses like really transforming at a higher level. So now television companies provide phone service and internet service. Phone companies now, or I should say not phone companies, but cable companies provide phone service. Electric companies can even provide internet service. Digitization has allowed a number of competitors to enter different business segments. And that's happening at a very, very high level. And again, because of this innovation and because of the advancements of technology, change is the only constant. And as businesses and employers and employees, we all have to be prepared for that change. Let's see if it advances. There we go. So again, in 2021, with rapid technological advancement and explosive growth, e-commerce, there's likely never been a time when the change is never constant has been rang more truer. That transformation is seen across America and really in communities. When you look at what's happening in communities, businesses are leaving, particularly in California. They're relocating to Nevada, really to address the skill shortage that is occurring here in California. But just overall, major companies are moving to identify or set up shop where they identify a talent pipeline, if you will. Those communities that have high skilled workers become attractive for the Googles, the Amazons, the Netflixes of the world, the Apples of the world. They are migrating to those areas where we see or find talent, technical talent, if you will. And I think that even trickles down to maybe your smaller businesses, because if you have an employee that is talented in those spaces or with those skills and those competencies, they can absolutely be poached by some of these larger corporations. And I think that's what you've seen maybe over the last 15, 20 years. I would say maybe back in please forgive me, I might date myself when I say this, but maybe during the 60s and 70s, the employee had a track record, a 20-year run. There was employee loyalty with the company where that employee would stay with that employer from the beginning of his career until he retired. And it wasn't uncommon to find someone sticking with the company for more than 20, 25 years. Within the last 10 years, that has completely changed because of this competitive landscape. Employees or talented employees stay with their employer maybe 4 to 5 years at most before they're seeking the next opportunity, which takes me to my next point, is that talent is key. By far, talent is the key to growth. It's the key to your business survival. It is the key to be competitive. And you have technologies, again, coming down the pipe, artificial intelligence, predictive analytics. They are becoming more commonplace. And again, they're already happening at the larger company level. That need to have that competency and that skill to work with these different technologies is absolutely imperative for survival. I will just take a little something that we're dealing with at WGU. I'll share a little bit just in terms of having the competencies and skills in this new digital landscape. We are evolving as a university and as an institution. We have done traditional marketing where we purchase TV ads and we purchase print ads. What we have found is maybe the technology is a little bit more advanced. Consumers are a little bit more sophisticated in how they consume their media, which ads they respond to. And as a result, we have realized in a very short period of time that we need to evolve the way we communicate with our prospective students, the way we need to communicate with our prospective partners, and be a little bit more streamlined, be a little bit more efficient, be a little bit more nimble. What does that digital marketing look like? What are the metrics behind that? We as a company have now incorporated those skills and competencies into our core competencies, if you will, how we efficiently market and communicate with our students. or prospective students and partners. And just really quick, couple of key points here, data points from the Society of Human Resource Management. It says 83% of HR professionals say they've had difficulty finding job candidates within the past, skilled job candidates within the past year. The skill shortage is absolutely tightening the job market. This goes back to my earlier point that larger companies, the Googles, the Apples, are relocating and moving and establishing themselves where they can be close to that talent pipeline. And so again, what is the impact on businesses? They have to maintain their competitive advantage with products and services, but also recruiting and retaining skilled employees. They have to address the current skill shortage through the development of new talent pipeline from existing employee base. Again, return to the era of the 20-year employee, the loyalty. I think there's a better return on investment from a productivity standpoint, innovation standpoint within your own business. Having that 20-year employee who maybe started off in the storage room and then worked his way up. He knows the ins and outs of that business. He's been in close tune with the customers. He's been in close contact with the vendors. He knows where there are opportunities to increase ROI, gain scale, look for efficiencies. You don't necessarily get that if you're constantly responding to the churn of that employee and having to recruit those from outside of your business environment. You lose that knowledge. And what we have found is that recruiting talent to replace is a lot more expensive than making the initial investment up front to, again, develop and groom, train that employee throughout his employee life cycle with your company. Another key point that I would emphasize here is align that employee development and growth with organizational objectives. Again, better productivity from your employer, a more motivated employee, and again, that talent stays with you and you can leverage that talent to benefit the overall company. And again, because of the advances in technology and the talent poaching that is happening, employers need to be a little bit more nimble in order to react to changes in business environment, again, due to innovation and technology. Oh, let me see. So the strategies to deal with the talent shortage, again, invest in employee development, additional training, certificates, credentials, degrees, hire early in the pipeline. There are innovative ways where you can get that talent a lot earlier in the pipeline. There are maybe start an apprenticeship program, maybe start hiring some high school students. I came across some research not too long ago that I think really speaks to the evolution of higher education and just education in general. Again, maybe the baby boomer, and I hate to say it, but the 60s and 70s, the pathway was that you did your K through 12, you went to college, and then you found a good job. What we're seeing now is their data starting to show that you do your K through 12 education, then you find a good job, and then you go to school. With advancements in society, pathways being disrupted, I think this is absolutely the way of the future. When you look at the global competitive environment and the skill shortages that exist, America's standing as the economic driver of the world, we have to respond to what's happening in other places. Over in Europe, there is a robust apprenticeship program. In China, we're seeing manufacturing skills being emphasized early on, the STEM education early on in foreign countries. And I don't want to stereotype, but even in Asia, there is an emphasis on technology. There was a intentional commitment to upskill and reskill in specific competencies. And what has happened because of the skill shortage globally, different sections of the world have become dominant players in specific occupations or skills and competencies. And again, as America finds its way out of this pandemic, we have to find a way to respond, to be more competitive. And I think it starts with upskilling and reskilling our own employees, developing that pipeline, and again, becoming a more dominant player with these technologies and moving forward. And so when you invest in learning, training, and skills, you help people unlock their individual potential. When you do it strategically, you also drive organizational performance, culture, and retention, and boost your ability to compete and win as an employer of choice. And so I would just emphasize that. And I think one of the things that WGU can offer is our online competency-based model. Again, it's flexible, it's accessible, it's affordable. Our average tuition is roughly $3,200 a semester, a 6-month term. Our curriculum is aligned with skills and competencies demanded in the workforce. Because it's online, if an employer or an employee, if you will, can gain those skills and competencies after work hours or at their leisure on the weekend, it doesn't disrupt their work life. They have work-life balance. If the employer were to invest, let's say $6,000 a year into the development of that employee, you've created that loyalty, you have motivated that employee, you have a more productive employee. And then again, at the end of that journey, you will have a loyal employee who can absolutely benefit and contribute to the return on investment. And so with that, I will just close up. Didn't want to take too much time, but happy to answer any questions.
Fantastic. Rick, thank you. Thank you so much for that presentation. My mind was a little bit blown by some of those data points that you shared, to be completely honest. 83% of HR professionals reporting difficulty recruiting suitable job candidates in the last 12 months. I mean, it's shocking, but it's also not surprising to hear that, to hear statistics of that nature. But I'm sure that I know that I have a bunch of questions. I'm sure folks on the call have a bunch of questions as well. So I want to open the floor now to everyone who's on the call. Go ahead and share your video, share your audio, however you're most comfortable. Enter questions into chat, and we will start taking those questions. I've actually got a couple to kick us off with, if that's all right. I think one of the things that came to my mind, if I'm putting myself in the shoes of, some of our members in particular, we run the gamut. We've got some larger businesses, we've got some smaller businesses. Employers right now are dealing with so many different layers of difficulty, of priority. They're trying to make payroll, trying to keep people employed. And so, watching trends and watching the seas ahead to see what trends and what kinds of skills could be on the horizon that they want to equip their future workforce with. That's probably not a huge priority at the moment, but I'd argue that it should be. What are some ways that the average employer can keep their finger on the pulse of work skill trends in order to be ahead of the curve instead of behind the curve?
That's a great question. I think the Bureau of Labor Statistics does a wonderful job of identifying those skills and competencies that are in demand. I would even say your local workforce development board also keeps track of that data. I think when you look at the state of Nevada, and just in terms of what's happening right now in Nevada, there are a lot of businesses migrating from California. They are looking for talent, and they are locating to where that talent is. There's a good opportunity to maybe do some research on those corporations that are moving to see if you can figure out a way as a small business, how do you fit within their supply chain? I think that is really, really key. Let's say, for example, if Apple wants to open up office in Northern Nevada or Western Nevada in Reno, and it's the phone division. Is there an opportunity, if you're a local business and you produce plastic, maybe there's an opportunity for you to identify, to be part of their supply chain in producing the molds for the phones. I mean, there are some really, really good opportunities, but again, it's being able to assess what those skills and competencies are. But also, if you're not necessarily having a technical employee base, look for those opportunities to insert yourself into the supply chains of some of these corporations that are moving.
That is amazing guidance. And, what just came to my mind as well is, staying attentive to, publications like the Northern Nevada Business Weekly, which publishes new companies who are coming to Reno all the time, ways that different companies are choosing to innovate, and getting inspiration from what other companies are doing, and looking ahead to those trends, and who's coming to the area, and how, like you said, how you can insert yourself into the conversation, insert yourself into the supply chain. That is fantastic guidance.
I think that's why, forgive me for jumping in, but you're getting me going. Both of you are inspiring me. I think that's why it's so important for you guys to be members of the chamber, because you're hearing those opportunities. You have the ability to network. Of course, they're at the EDON and the economic development folks are all, we're all playing nicely in the same pool. I think that's one of the nice unexpected benefits from the pandemic. We were working in that way, collaborating beforehand. It's not like it didn't exist, but this has really jump-started that process. So, and it's also jump-started our relationship with folks like you. We do have a little bit of time, and I don't mean to cut anybody off, but I would really like to turn the conversation over to you guys who are attending, because you're here for a reason. I'd like to know a little bit more about your businesses and your needs, rather than us just kind of dictate to you. I don't know if anybody wants to lead off, but if you don't mind sharing some of that stuff, it really helps us understand how to build our educational programs going forward. I mean, I always consider our relationships two-way streets. We learn from you, and then you learn from us, and we figure out ways that we can help. So if I don't know if anybody, I'm not going to put anybody on the spot. I guess I can play like the second grade school teacher and say, okay, Jonathan, talk to me, but somebody pipe up and talk.
I'm happy to say what's up to everybody. Sorry, hopefully you can hear me. Jonathan Banks, I'd actually work for Google. It's funny hearing you mention our company a few times. No, this just showed up. I don't even know how I got on the email thread, but I just saw the trainings that were available, and I think it's important. I've got a little bit of extra time, and so that's why I'm sitting in on a few of these meetings as I have it. I thought it was a good presentation. I don't know if it's totally applicable to where I am right now, but I did just want to say hi and introduce myself. So thank you for putting this on. I'm a mechanical engineer at Google.
Okay.
We've got the data center out there in the industrial park, and I basically oversee construction, make sure that the building's built how we expect it to be, and then make any program changes as necessary. So,
in one of my previous lifetimes, I worked in the construction field, so I have a little bit of a sense of how important your work is.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
I'm based in Southern Nevada, although I cover the state, and we also, of course, Google has just built that huge, interesting data center here in Henderson, right down the street from me.
I was over that one too.
Were you? Oh,
Yep.
Monster project. I'm really glad to meet you, and maybe we can have at some point with all of you specifically, just have a separate conversation where we can explore a little bit more and maybe make the connections to your company to figure out, to give you a little more detail about WGU's uniqueness and efficiency and ways that we can partner with, and everybody has their own needs. So I'd love to visit with you if you just want to send me your contact information. And
no doubt, yeah.
I'm really glad you jumped in and broke the ice. Thank you, Jonathan. I'm glad you had the time to attend to.
Yeah.
All right.
Jonathan, you raised Google, and I think Google is one of the more interesting companies that has taken a different approach to addressing the skill shortage, if you will. Google is developing their own curriculum and really presenting that curriculum, those students who pass that curriculum, as bona fide, they recognize those credentials as degrees. They have taken ownership of grooming and developing their own employees. Again, that embedding that loyalty early on and investing in that employee earlier in the life cycle, I think will continue to benefit Google. And you look at all the new innovations coming out of Google, it's because they are recruiting that talent, they are developing that talent, and they're empowering that talent to push Google forward. And so just one of the more interesting companies that we've been looking at and really trying to address the skill shortage and see what the response is. But That's just one of the things I noticed about Google.
Yeah.
All right. That's a great segue into another one of my questions. And again, if anyone on the call has any other questions that, even if they seem granular, even if they seem very specific to you, there is no bad question. But I'm curious, again, thinking through the needs of some of our, average chamber members. We've got, again, larger businesses, smaller businesses. I think there's a misconception perhaps out there that when it comes to job training, when it comes to upskilling, those are things that big companies do, like your Googles, but not necessarily something that a small business can attain. What are some ways that smaller scale organizations and employers, we have a lot of members in the nonprofit sector, and to be frank, who could really use some guidance in this way also, how can they make on-the-job training accessible and contribute to that pipeline?
Great question. I would just say that I think there's an altruistic component to upskilling and reskilling, right? The more skilled your workforce is, the more knowledgeable your workforce is, the more economic growth and more economic stability your community has. And so if you think about the opportunities that these organizations have to contribute to their own community to remain economically viable, it seems like it would be a no-brainer to invest in reskilling and upskilling and new skilling your own employees. But again, not everybody can afford that. But I am of the belief that education or just education attainment is being disrupted, right? There are going to be a number of ways folks can tap into just simply learning. Right now, what's happening, I take my own daughter, for example, teenage daughter who likes to do nails. She taught herself how to do nails by watching YouTube. YouTube is an excellent source for, again, just identifying things that you would like to do, new skills, upskilling, reskilling. That's a resource. Another resource, I think is probably on the more or less expensive side, is LinkedIn Learning, where there are specific modules as it relates to your soft skills of your employees. Upgrading your project management skills. There are a number of online opportunities that are, let's say, affordable for maybe some of the smaller businesses to invest in their employees and make those modules, if you will, available to their employees. There's another app I think called Masterclass, where there are specific subjects from marketing to digital marketing to project management to just business operations that are affordable, that smaller employers can make available to their employee workforce.
All right, absolutely. Their resources abound. And in this day and age, especially since we're all leaning on digital resources more than ever, it's heartening to see that there are so many ways to access good content, reliable content through myriad avenues. And, I would absolutely put WG in that camp. I would put UNR Extended Studies in that camp. There are so many accessible resources for education that really run the gamut. But of course, there are benefits to doing programs that allow you to achieve a certain level of certification as well. So that's something to be underscored, certainly. We probably have time for one more question. If there's anyone else out there who has a burning question or something that they're curious about.
I'd like to just piggyback on what you guys have been saying too about the value of an education or this upskilling and those topics that we're talking about for a smaller company. We're thinking of you in terms of growing the company, and obviously you can't just stay still anymore with anything. If you're not moving forward, you're moving backwards. So we're assuming that you, as a member of the chamber, are active and really want to grow the company. And a lot of the challenges we find that owners have, and Rick has certainly hit on the major one, is employee loyalty. And there are different ways to address that, but also in terms of succession planning for you. As you grow, you're going to need a leadership team as you continue to do this. You want to have people who are motivated, like he's talking about, and interested in working with you and not just bailing at the next higher offer. I know in my career, I found it really important. This is a case in point. where you're doing something because you love it. You're not necessarily doing it just for the money or just for necessarily growth opportunities or whatever it is, although in your situation, it'd be more of that. So succession planning and pipeline building and all those managerial things that come up and the skills that you need to grow your business to the next level. As Rick was pointing out, and as Kristine mentioned too, a lot of folks these days have positions where they didn't necessarily get the degree. And they find in their career they need to move forward, or else they just need to, they need to have the piece of paper to do it. But more importantly, they need the skills to do it. So you may be in a situation where you started a business and you're building it and you're successful and it's great, but maybe you need a few more hard skills in terms of, accounting or managerial stuff or something so you can manage it a little better. So there are a lot of different programs and ways and necessities why an experience like ours or other programs that Rick alluded to are of value. It's not just taking time away from all the other things you could be doing, but it's something that will help you grow and position yourself for the future so you can get to the point where you can turn it over to somebody else and actually have a nice life.
Absolutely. I learned early on in my career, as a rule, as a principle, you're always looking to see who could be the next you, and you're taking the time to invest. And I loved, Rick, that you brought up the altruism of investing in other people, whether it's through education or whether it's through mentorship. And investing in your successors and in your future team members and leadership team members. So thank you for that comment, Sharon. And I think that's a great way to end the call. The fact that we all have an opportunity to invest in those who are going to be part of our future, not just our organization, but contributors and good business citizens and good citizens in general. So thank you so much, Rick, once again for joining us and sharing your insight. I'm sure that we will be tapping you on the shoulder again to hear from you and to see how things are going in this region. Thank you, Sharon. Thank you, Jonathan, for popping in and sharing your story a little bit. And with that, I want to thank everyone for being here and invite you to have a good day.
Thank you so much for having me,
Yeah,
Kristine.
thank you.
Really appreciate it.
Thank
Of
you.
course.
Enjoyed it.
Thanks,
Happy to talk to you.
everybody.
Bye now.
See you guys.